Welcome all to the podcast. This co-host Jason. Hi, that's I'm Merrimack, New Hampshire. Puma. What's up, brother man? How are you?
I'm doing good, dude. A fun-filled week. We missed last week. You're a little under the weather, but have no fear. We are back in the saddle. Fun times, Jay. We're like halfway through the season. It's already week 7, week 8. What a time to be alive.
Don't get me all depressed, bro.
It's fine, but it's also like the best time of the year. We got like the World Series coming up. You got like hockey frenzy that ESPN's trying to shove down everybody's throat. College football. It's a great time, Jay. It's a great time to be a degenerate.
Great time to be alive. Now, before we start, I got to crack a cold one. A little Sprite action.
Nice.
Oh, yes.
Yes,
crack a cold one.
Yeah, you got to have the caffeine free this late at night.
Is this caffeine free? Is Sprite caffeine free?
Yeah.
Oh.
Dude, if you had like Coke tonight, like you would like not be sleeping for 3 days because I know you. So it's fine. You need that Sprite.
Yes, I do. All right, Puma, let's get right into this, all right? My resurgent New England Patriots, my Patriots
nice.
have risen from the ashes, have risen like the Phoenix, Puma. We took down the Buffalo Bills. Okay. We are now 2-5 instead of 1-5. When the whole world, Puma, thought that the Patriots would get steamrolled over, when the whole world laughed at me for saying that the Bills could potentially get upset by the Patriots, you laughed at me. Everybody else laughed at me. But Puma, I've got a feeling about this Patriots team. And you heard it here first. I'm going to, spoiler alert, Patriots beat the Dolphins this weekend, and we are going on a roll, Puma. We are going on a roll. Let me tell you why.
Okay.
This team
Let me get my pain pills real quick to hear this.
This Patriots team is finally getting some mojo going. For the first few weeks, there was a lot of turmoil, and I think if I had to explain to you why I think there was turmoil, I think it was mostly because the new offense took some time to get going, right? Now, last week against the Bills, Mac Jones looked good. We reverted back to the Josh McDaniels offense where he was basically dinking and dunking. If you look at Mac Jones's flow chart, the little green chart they do with like the X's and O's, all his passes, Puma, were behind the line of scrimmage or at the line of scrimmage. That's the kind of type of quarterback play we need out of Mac Jones. We can't have him pushing it down the field. His arm isn't strong enough. So I think finally they understood. I think Bill O'Brien finally understood. We've got to allow him to throw these small, like quick passes. And the more times we have him thrown downfield, the more disastrous this kid gets. So call it stupidity on my part to, think that, let me put it this way. I think Bill O'Brien finally figured out the formula on how to make Mac Jones work. They're trying to fit him into a spot that he wasn't comfortable playing quarterback. He's never going to air it out. He's never going to throw 60 yards down the field. And they're trying to get him to do that. Now they've dialed it back. They reverted back to the Josh McDaniels offense. And Puma, you hear it here first. We're upsetting the Miami Dolphins.
You're on drugs. You want to know why they were dinking and dunking? I hope they were dink and dunk because literally the linebacking core for Buffalo has been decimated with injuries. I don't think Matt Milano wasn't there. The secondary, Tre'Davious White is out with the Achilles injury. Like that linebacking core was already like the depth was already a problem. And then losing a big piece like that contributed to it. Listen, was it a great performance by Mac Jones? Sure. Did Buffalo also squander away so many opportunities in that game? Absolutely. They're now running into a Dolphins team that, Tua is undefeated against Bill Belichick in his career thus far. They have a massive home field advantage, even though it's going to be, the end of October down there. It's going to be 85 with like 100% humidity out there. Vic Fangio is going to throw the kitchen sink at Mac Jones here. So it's not going to be a whole lot of dinking and dunking anymore. And, you couple that with Xavier Howard might be back from his groin injury. There's a slight chance that Jalen Ramsey might be activated off of injured reserve, and he should be able to come back for this game. I heard a lot of talk about how, the Pats limited the offense of the Miami Dolphins week 2. Yeah, they did. They absolutely did. They held them to like 240 passing yards and then 130 yards on the ground. Mostert and A-Chain ran the ball down their throat. But the big difference between now and then is there's no Gonzalez in that secondary for New England anymore. Matthew Judon is not going to be there. So this is a completely different defense that Bill Belichick is going to be rolling out against Miami, that had a chance to tie it up in the fourth quarter against the Philadelphia Eagles. And in my opinion, if they would have tied it up, they would have won. I'm not getting into the refs. That's a whole other conversation. But no, like one of my best bets this week is laying 9.5 with Miami at home.
Don't do it.
Tua is 15-5 against the number, covering the spread. The New England Patriots, like, the bar, Jay, like the bar is so low. The bar is so low that at this point, Mac Jones could tie his shoes right, and everybody would be happy with what Mac Jones has done. He's about to get a rude awakening from Vic Fangio. Week 2, they were a 2-point favorite, and they covered by more than a touchdown, or they actually covered by a touchdown here. It's probably going to come down to the ball and the game is going to be in Mac Jones's hands again, and Vic Fangio is going to dial up a defense here and just going to completely get after his ass. And I know that the Pats kind of retooled the offensive line by putting Awayu on the right side. To me, it doesn't really matter. Jalen Phillips is going to be back. He looked like a stud last week and was getting after Jalen Hurts' ass. Jalen Hurts also, in my opinion, got hurt in the first quarter of that game and tried to play it off and is still playing it off right now. Christian Wilkins is a beast too. If Bradley Chubb can just become a semblance of what Bradley Chubb was in Denver, this is going to be a very, very interesting front 4 and front 7 going up against the New England offensive line this weekend. I'm laying the 9.5 with the Pats.
Oh, stop it, Puma! So much disrespect, Puma. It's so much disrespect.
Jay. Let me say this.
Hate has to stop, Puma.
Let me say something though, real quick.
Now, okay.
So you have no explosive playmakers on offense. You guys can't even use Ramondre Stevenson right. And all of a sudden, now Devontae Parker, Mr. Soft Tissue Injury himself. And by the way, was it like Juju Smith-Schuster not active last week? We're just going to dink and dunk our way down the field with Devontae Parker that, one, can't use his body size the right way in the first place, and I had front row seats to that, and all of a sudden, and is also due for a soft tissue injury between now and Friday practice. No way, man.
Have you heard of somebody called Demario Pop Douglas? Have you?
Sure.
Have you?
Yes.
He's the up and coming star that we needed, Puma. The kid has juice. He can get in and out of breaks quick. He can actually beat somebody in coverage. And here's my bigger point. My bigger point being, Puma, if you really, and let's be real here for a second, if you really watch that Bills game, the reason why we were able to disrupt Josh Allen so much was because Christian Barmore has come alive. The last 2 or 3 games up the middle, Christian Barmore has been able to provide pressure right up the middle, and you saw Josh Allen pushing out all game long, getting out of the corner, getting out of the pocket, trying to make a play. Now, I get it. Gonzalez is gone. I get it. Judon is gone. But Barmore's emergence the last couple of weeks has really helped us out quite a bit. And if we saw anything from the Miami Dolphins game against the Philadelphia Eagles the other night, what happened? Jalen Carter and that front 7 up the middle were causing all kinds of issues. This is why I am so excited about this matchup, because I do believe that front 7 for the Patriots is going to disrupt the whole timing offense of the Miami Dolphins. And we have seen now with 2 big games against the Bills and against the Eagles, when they put in that spot, the Miami Dolphins look average to sometimes bad. Like, I mean, they scored 1 touchdown this past weekend. The other one was a pick 6, and there's a field goal that was like in enemy territory. All I'm saying, Puma, is Christian Barmore with that front 7, they're gonna push right up the middle, and that's gonna cause a lot of issues for the Miami Dolphins.
Lay the 9.5.
You heard it here first.
You know what? You want to have a side bet? We'll do $25 straight up.
Side bet. That's look too rich my blood. Let's do $10. Okay.
Fine. $10. $10 straight up. Straight up.
I am broke.
Our little side bet straight up.
I am a broke boy, so I cannot obviously bet $25. Okay.
There you go. $10. $10 straight up. You heard it here first to the one viewer of the pod right now. But yes. I get it. Like, it's a divisional game. Division games get weird, but in this spot, after what happened on Sunday Night Football, anything under 10, I'm playing. I am playing, but it's Miami or nothing for me.
So let me ask you this. Did you end up watching much of that Bills Patriots game? And I wanted to ask you, from a non-Patriots perspective, what you saw out of the offense, out of the defense, out of the Patriots. Why do you think we were able to beat the Buffalo Bills? Besides Josh Allen having a meltdown. Yeah.
because the Bills left their offense apparently in London, and then actually they didn't even leave it in London. They left it at the airport on their way to the London game like 2 weeks ago. Like I have no idea what the hell's going on in Buffalo. I mean, to me, like New England's still a bad football team in my opinion. They just they got lucky on any given Sunday. Things can happen. I'm not taking a whole lot of stock in Josh Allen having oh man, like his shoulder was hurting. Like, okay, fine. I guess he popped up on the injury report from that. But I mean, the fact of the matter is this offense hasn't been clicking for the last 3 weeks. And then on top of that, one of their big strengths was their defense. Their defense relied heavily on scoring off of turnovers. And when you don't have Tre'Davious White out there, and when you don't have Matt Milano out there, and there really isn't a whole lot of depth at the linebacking core, like that is going to be a massive problem, especially in like this still quasi hell in a cell known as the AFC. So I give it more credence to Buffalo playing down their competition with no depth than all of a sudden New England figured things out. And, they put out a report that Bill Belichick has like a contract extension that apparently nobody knew about up until kickoff the other week.
We'll get to that in a second. Before we move off this, I wanted to run this by you. Like, I firmly believe we're about to go on a run. I truly believe the New England Patriots are about to reel off 5 out of 6 wins, 4 out of 5 wins, whatever denomination you want it.
You're taking my pain pills.
We beat the Buffalo Bills. We're gonna beat the Miami Dolphins this weekend, Puma. And I promise you, by next week you're gonna start coming around with the idea like, oh crap, this team's about to go on a run because I've got the
No, I'm not. No, I am not coming around to the idea, Jay. This is a bad football team. This is a bad football team. And the fact of the matter is that now you're starting to sound like the callers in the 98.5. That is like, oh my God. See, the problem, Jay, is you're holding your laurels to Pop Douglas, who was drafted in what? The 6th round, when for decades, all that's been talked about is, oh, Bill can find anybody. Bill can find anybody bagging groceries at Walmart and make them into a Pro Bowler. The fact that this guy is their key offensive weapon is 1, horrifying, and 2, just gives more fuel to what you call the Bill Belichick sycophants, and is probably going to do enough this year to keep his job. The bar is so low. Just accept the fact that this is a bad football team. And you're going to tell me, fine, you know what? I'll split the difference. Let's say by some miracle that you guys go into Miami and 100% humidity with the massive home field advantage that the Dolphins have. Yes. And now you're going to go into the frisky Indianapolis Colts, which I understand. I understand Minshew Mania is Minshew Mania, but the fact of the matter is now all of a sudden you guys are going to have a stout run defense, and it's going to shut down Zach Moss and shut down Jonathan Taylor, who's starting to look like the old Jonathan Taylor. And I get the Chargers are the Chargers, but Austin Eckler is still back there, and the Chiefs, they never cover. I'll give you that on the spread.
Chiefs, yeah. But my bigger point, Puma,
the Commies will win. I'll put the Commies win in that week too.
Look at this remaining schedule. Even if we do lose to the Dolphins, which I don't think we're going to, we're going to beat the Dolphins. We've got the Commanders, who suck. We've got.
I still think the Commies winning.
The Colts are trash, Puma. The Giants are a dumpster fire, much worse than we are. The Chargers, I've got no faith in Brandon Staley and Justin Herbert. And the one thing, and let's be fair here, Bill Belichick has owned Justin Herbert. He's made him look foolish, right? The Steelers, I obviously, I don't know. Those guys are good. The Chiefs, obviously, we're not going to beat them. But then the Broncos, the Bills, the Jets, Puma, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 potential wins right here. Add 7 wins on top of 2, we're at 9, 10 wins, Puma. I can honestly see this thing taking off for the Patriots. And here's the thing, Puma. It would be one thing if I was a religious Bill Belichick sycophant that would just drink his urinal water. You feel me? That's not who I am. I am very fair and objective about the Patriots. And Bill Belichick and this team, I think they found something. I don't know what it was. I don't know what it was. I really can't even quantify it. I just got this feeling, Puma. I got this feeling deep down that my New England Patriots are about to go on a run.
The clock is about to strike midnight, Cinderella. So I hate to tell you this, but Santa Claus ain't real either.
my bigger point, Puma, I'm very fair about the Patriots. I'm objectively fair. Sometimes I'm a little too overly critical. But I have to give Mac Jones his props for what he did. He played a great football game on Sunday, And on top of that, I've got this feeling we figured something out on Sunday.
Okay.
That win is going to propel us. All right.
Okay. Imposing Chris, our boy in the chat. Yes. Fan is short for fanatic. And this is crazy. And honestly, Jay, I feel like you've taken my pain pills from my surgery that I just had. So
Hey,
wow.
Imposing Chris. There we go, baby. Let's go, Pats.
Yeah.
Let's go, Pats.
Oh,
imposing underscore Chris. Brandon underscore Puma. All these underscores. Y'all just a bunch of haters, all right? Simple as that. All right? Y'all gonna come back here in a few weeks. Y'all gonna come back here in a few weeks, and y'all are gonna apologize to me.
The bar is so low, right? Man. I can't wait to have that $10 hit my account when we roll on Sunday.
Wow. The funny thing is, we're gonna be in the same room watching this game.
Can't wait. My mother-in-law is gonna be in for a show.
Me and Puma in the same room, and I'll let imposing underscore Chris on this little as well, since he's watching it with us. I live in Ohio. Puma lives in Connecticut. I'm actually going out there for from family stuff, work stuff, whatever. But on the way back, I'm gonna watch this Miami Dolphins Patriots game with Puma, and I'm gonna be in the same room, and I'm gonna be like, Puma, take that when the Patriots beat the Dolphins. Take that, Puma.
Yep. Okay, we'll see about that. I'll have my Venmo request on hot standby for you. So,
all right. Okay. All right. Let's go, baby. All right. Let's move on. The Cincinnati Bengals coming off a bye week, looking much better than the first couple of weeks of the season, taking on the 49ers who are coming off 2 straight losses. Who you got winning this game, Puma?
I mean, it's a travel spot, but I mean, after what I saw, like the last 2 weeks from this 49ers team, like I'm gonna have to go with the Bengals here. Like, I'm not betting this game. Yeah. The spread is Cincinnati's getting 5.5 points. So they're the dog here. I think the over under last time I looked was 45.5. But no, I'm gonna go with the Bengals here just because of the fact of the bye week came just at the right time. I mean, just before the bye, you started seeing Joe Burrow look a little bit more like himself. The Seahawks kind of screwed that game away, in my opinion, but it looked like old Joe Burrow the week prior to that against the Cardinals. Now that, fully rested here and, like imposing Chris put up there, like Purdy's finally who we really, what we all thought. And this is what I've been saying the whole season is, is Brock Purdy going to be able to throw this team back into a game? Sure, the Cleveland game, yes, he did. And then Jake Moody screwed him over by missing that field goal. But then the same thing happened yesterday. I mean, Jake Moody left a lot of points in the field, missing field goals here. And then he had to, Purdy had 2 really brutal interceptions. I mean, one with 5 minutes to go, one with like a minute and a half, 2 minutes to go, when it was only a 5-point lead. And, say what you want about the Vikings. I mean, the defense isn't world beaters, but the defense is light years better than what it was last year. And it was like they were god-awful picks. So you look at that, I think the Bengals are going to be up at some point in this game in the fourth quarter. Is Brock Purdy going to be able to take them off the brink and throw them back into a game? I don't think they are. Yep. And then you also look on the defensive side of the football for how vaunted this defense is. And I believe I was watching the baseball game last night, so I wasn't really paying attention to Monday Night Football because Game 7 to me is more interesting than Monday Night Football. I'm sorry. But Fred Warner, I think, went down with an injury. So I'm not sure if he's going to be available on Sunday. And then you couple that with the fact that I think the 49ers have like one of the lowest sack rates in the league through 7 weeks so far. I mean, the only teams worse than them are Houston, Jacksonville, the Giants, and the Rams, and at a 4.9% sack rate. For how vaunted this defense is, there's a lot of questions here. And Lou Amarillo is going to be able to get after his ass and come up with some dynamic defenses and blitzes to get after Purdy. And there's a lot of talk about Christian McCaffrey being the MVP of this team, but I mean, Trent Williams wasn't playing last night. Deebo Samuel wasn't playing last night, and this offense looked pretty pedestrian when Brian Flores took away Christian McCaffrey from the game plan. So if I'm betting this, I'm laying it with Cincinnati.
Yeah, I'm taking the Bengals too, and mostly because of this Brock Purdy conversation that we're having. I think Brock Purdy, when the season started, 5 games in, they're rolling. They're 5-0. They're looking amazing. They got the Avengers of football, as I dubbed the San Francisco 49ers, out there just steamrolling everybody, right? They're looking really good. And I started believing the hype that Brock Purdy was special. And what I mean by special is, same thing in the beginning of Tom Brady's career. I'm not saying he's Tom Brady. What I'm trying to say is I was able to see past, all the, hey, he's a system quarterback. He's a guy that's a product of the system. He won't do anything anywhere else. And I was starting to buy the fact that maybe, just maybe, Brock Purdy was something special. However, the last 2 weeks, he had prime opportunities, whether it was down against the Cleveland Browns. And yes, he got him into field goal range and they missed a field goal. I get that. It's totally fine. But the fact is, they shouldn't even have been to that level. You're playing the Cleveland Browns on the road with a backup quarterback. You're not even playing like their star quarterback. So I really was looking forward towards Brock Purdy having a bounce back game last night against the Minnesota Vikings. But, imposing Chris here makes a great point about the timing-based offense that the 49ers run, right? Ultimately, you saw those 2 bad interceptions that Brock Purdy threw, and a lot of those come from the fact that the timing of the offense is thrown off, and he's just blindly throwing. Like, he is just being told, this is where you throw, in this spot, it's open, go for it, and he's not even looking for the play to develop. So, the fact that you can cause what I wanted to see out of Brock Purdy was him improvising a little bit. Once the timing is thrown off, how can he improvise? Maybe roll out of the pocket, maybe find a way to jumpstart this 49ers offense. So far, we haven't seen it. So because of that, I got the Bengals winning.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep.
Now, do you think they correct this? Like, obviously now they are in a free fall. I think they're about to lose 3 straight in a row, right? So a lot of this is tied around health for the 49ers, right? But do you think they're a legitimate, viable candidate to come out of the NFC, or is this who they are?
I think this is who they are. I mean, I'm trying to look at the schedule here. I mean,
I'll put
the
up.
Jags might be the one. Like the Jags are right after this week, so like the defense for the Jaguars leaves a lot to be desired here. But no, like this is going to be I think the start of a 3-game losing streak here, and then even then after the Jaguars they have Tampa Bay going on the road, and Tampa Bay's defense has been pretty decent. Last week notwithstanding. But I mean, this is the murderer's row. I mean, you have the Seahawks. What is that, like a bye week in between? So they got back to Seahawks bye week, then Seahawks again. So that's not going to be easy here. I mean, the only air quote layups here
Ravens,
are Jacksonville.
Holy crap! Commanders,
the Commies,
the
Rams, maybe. But I think the Buccaneers are going to be a live dog in that game. The Jaguars might be a live dog in that game too. No, here's
a crazy take, and I'm gonna disagree with imposing Chris here because I think there's a small chance the Seahawks can win this division. I know everybody's written it off as the 49ers are gonna win this division. The 49ers are gonna come out of the NFC. There's a chance the Seattle Seahawks could end up winning this division because at this moment, I believe they're playing a more, not a better brand of football, so I want to quote this properly. They're playing a more fundamentally sound brand of football, where like the 49ers, if they get hurt, it's over. Like, all right, well, Brock Purdy obviously can't do anything with these guys, but I think with the Seahawks, they can weather a couple of injuries here and there and still keep on ticking.
Well, here's the thing, though, too. Like, if it wasn't for god-awful red zone play against Cincinnati last week, the Seahawks would probably be, I think it'd be like a 5-game winning streak. So I like Seattle to potentially win this division. I mean, Imposing Chris also said too. Imposing Chris has been on fire in the
That's
Pro
my
Football
guy right
Radio
there. Chris, you my guy.
That's what we're calling the chat section here. Kind of stealing that from the Cover 3 podcast. Shout out to the Cover 3 pod. But I mean, if it's just going to be heavy blitzing, and that's going to be the cheat code, especially with no Trent Williams there, I mean, good luck to you, man. Like I have a hard time seeing the 49ers running away with this division here.
I think it might be a good time to segue into the Browns versus Seahawks. Where are you talking about the Seahawks? Browns are coming off an insane game. Like, who the hell would have thought that PJ Walker versus Gardner Minshew was going to be the highlight of the 1:00 window? Like, I'm watching that game with my jaw on the floor. They're coming off a win in a game where Deshaun Watson got hurt. He threw a couple interceptions, got hurt, went and got concussion protocol, was clear to go back in. However, the Browns decided not to take him back in. A lot of conversation this week about, was it Deshaun Watson's decision to go back in or not? we'll get to this in a second. My personal feelings are I think that Deshaun Watson quit. And then the Seahawks, we just talked a lot about them. So at the moment, who do you got to win this game, Puma?
It's one of my best bets this week. It's Seattle -3. I'm kind of pissed I missed the boat when it was 2.5 on the look ahead, but any Seattle -3. Reality, this should probably be closer to a touchdown, in my opinion, if they didn't bungle the Bengals game 2 weeks ago. But Seattle's a better team right now. They're playing a better brand of football, like we've been talking about off the top. The offensive line for Cleveland is still leaves a lot to be desired. Like Jedrick Wills is still having a rough go of it from what I've seen. And then, you get to it. It doesn't matter if it's PJ Walker, Dorian Thompson-Robinson, or Deshaun Jag Watson. This defense is going to be able to get after it and generate pressure. Devin Witherspoon is probably defensive rookie of the year coming out of Illinois. That guy is an absolute savage. All over the formation. He can pretty much run with anybody here. And, as comical as Jamal Adams is, that dude can stuff the run, and he can be involved in safety blitzes and really make life a living hell back there for whatever quarterback is behind that offensive line. The Seahawks are great at stopping the run. I think they allow only like 3.5 yards a carry, which is top 3 in the NFL right now. So they're going to make whoever's back there throw the football. Good luck to you. And now that you have Jackson Smith-Njigba, JSN, kind of emerging with DK Metcalf missing last week, and you have Tyler Lockett, and look at that, Noah Fant is looking like the tight end one that came out of the University of Iowa, over 4 or 5 years ago. This is a very dynamic offense. So I'm laying it. I'm laying the 3 with Seattle. I think this is a potential boat racing spot here. They're on the road. It's like a 1 p.m. local kickoff because it's a 4 o'clock slate. Body clock is going to be a thing for the Browns. And, you factor in Deshaun Jag Watson potentially quitting on this team.
Let's talk about that.
No, I'm all set. Lay him with Seattle.
Listen, I same here. I think the Seahawks are going to win. I think the Browns going cross country with a backup quarterback, as good as that defense is. I think it's an uphill battle for you to go into that Seahawks stadium and beat them, especially how good a football player they're playing right now. So let's move on. I want to talk about Deshaun Watson here because there's nothing in life that makes me more mad than when you quit. When you quit on your team, when you quit on your family, when you quit on your friends, when you quit on anything in life, I truly get infuriated because at that point, it's not just about you, it's about the rest of the team as well, right? And I do believe Deshaun Watson masked behind all of that concussion, rotator cuff issue. I truly believe he started that game. He started playing really badly, threw 2 interceptions, and then he used that injury as an excuse to not go back in. We have been saying this for a while now, and I think it's starting to become evident and self-clear that Deshaun Watson's never going to get back to who he was, right? He is never going to get back to that Houston Texans Deshaun Watson. But now we're in this territory now where he's not just even average. He's below average, and on top of that, he's a quitter. Like, that's the one thing you can't do in team sport, especially football, where you're needed so heavily by your peers in your locker room. And this dude flat out said, "I'm not playing well today. I'm not going to go back in." I get that. That's me putting my spin on it. The party line is that he was, injured and he couldn't go back in. But just the optics of it, just looking at that game, anybody with 2 brain cells can be like, "Oh, crap, he threw 2 interceptions. He got hurt. He got medically cleared. Why isn't he back in the game?" Like, it's too obvious there for me to not think of anything else.
It's not even that, Jay. It's like, let's look at 2 separate things from that game too. One, you have the post-game presser where Stefanski emphatically says that Deshaun Watson's playing next week against Seattle. And then literally like 10, 15 minutes later, when Deshaun goes to the podium, it's one of those, well, I'm going to pray on this with the Lord and wait for my sign. Like, we're waiting for the Almighty to essentially clear you to be ready to play. And then 2, I saw this either yesterday or earlier today, where I think it was Dustin Hopkins. He hit the game-winning field goal, and they're in the locker room. They're giving out the game balls, and Deshaun Watson's in the corner. He's not like smiling, like kind of high-fiving the players. Like, he legitimately looks pissed. Now, whether or not like that's him being pissed at himself for having a bad game, or just looking absolutely miserable because he's on the Cleveland Browns right now, that's open to discussion. But you have the coach saying one thing, you have the medical staff saying one thing, and I understand, like, from the shoulder aspect of things, if you feel like you can't push the ball down the field, okay, fine. It's not like the medical staff is essentially saying it's like a pain management type of deal.
Mm-hmm.
Like I have a hard time in a contact sport where you're always going to be dinged up here. Like even before the injury, Jay, he didn't look that great. He looked brutal against the Steelers. And I know that's unfair because that was like 4 weeks ago. But
still,
he looked like
tape.
He would rather be anywhere else in that matchup. And then conveniently, like, you know, he takes himself out of the game right before kickoff when he only popped up on the injury report the day before the 49ers game. Like, I have a hard time not seeing this as, hey, I got paid. I'm not putting myself in harm's way anymore.
And opposing Chris makes a good point that got my brain rattling here about how, you know, Watson hasn't given up on the team, but I think he's given up on himself. What do you think on the fact that maybe the $230 million contract is weighing heavy on him? The fact that there's so much pressure on him with all that fully guaranteed money, it seems to be impeding him psychologically, which is leading to not being on the field, the physical ailments, or whatever term that is scientifically. It seems like maybe this contract is kind of holding him back, because I can't think of anything else. I truly cannot think of anything else short of the fact saying that he's done, he's washed up, which could be a point here. I just can't understand why he's not even going back out on the field when he's medically cleared. You feel me? That's the thing that really bugs me, is the fact that he was medically cleared and couldn't get back out there.
Well, I'll give Chris brings up a good point. It's valid for what's going on potentially between his ears, but let's take it one step further. Not only do you have the pressure of the contract, literally almost everybody in the country cannot stand you and thinks you're a freak, and which is probably hard for someone to.
If that's a point too. Yeah,
it's probably a hard pill to swallow when you were known as the stand-up guy from Clemson. And, correct me if I'm wrong, like he lived in one of Warwick Dunn's houses that he built as like a charity type of deal. So like you go from that to being like the darling of Clemson to, I think he won a national title out in Clemson too. Yep. And, Dabo's dapping him up as like a family guy. And he's like the face of the Houston Texans with JJ Watt and all that stuff. And then your whole world starts crumbling down when you start sitting out games in Houston. And, it comes to light that best air quote charitably that you're just a freak at massage parlors with pending lawsuits still. So you juxtapose that with the contract, like maybe if you add all that, then I will buy what Chris is selling here.
I think that's a fair assessment because I think the injury aspect of it, how we were watching him now go back on the field, screams some sort of mental issue, like seems some sort of block there that he can't seem to go back on the field. And I think you might have hit it right on the head. I think everything compounding down on him, whether it's his image being torn down, whether it's the expectations of the contract, a lot of that is weighing heavy on him, in my personal opinion. Now, let's move forward here. Let's see this Browns schedule, right? I mean, you got the Seahawks this week. You're probably going to lose that game. You got the Cardinals. I mean, this is not going to be an easy test for these guys the rest of the way. You got the Ravens. You got the Steelers. Broncos, yes, they're not the greatest, but the Rams, they're tough out. The Jags. So, there's a couple games at the end of the year that it's going to be a couple of layups for them. But for the most part, I think they are going to have a tough stretch here coming up in the next few weeks.
Hey, wait, is Deshaun going back to Houston on Christmas?
Yes, he is.
That's hilarious.
He is. Christmas Eve.
It's hilarious. Merry Christmas. You're about to get your teeth kicked in at the H-Town. Nice. I mean, even then, like, Jay, look at the Bears. Like, if Justin Fields plays, that's not like none of these games are gimmies. Like none. Like maybe if Zach Wilson reverts back to Zach Wilson, like even the Cardinals, they're going to be a froggy team in that game too. Like none of these are layups here. And like, there was so much expectation for the Browns this year. And I mean, if Nick Chubb was still there, like they still have a puncher's chance in that division, but like, I'm sorry. Like, and now you think of it from like a roster perspective, right? Like to do like the deep dive into the roster construction here. Like they've already maxed out their PJ Walker call-ups from the practice squad. Yep. So like he is going to have to be on the 52-man roster. Now, whether or not that means they send DTR down to the practice squad, which, you could sign people off of the practice squad. And I know Dorian Thompson-Robinson was not great in that spot start, but you've seen him at UCLA. I've seen a handful of games of him at UCLA too. Like, he would probably be a decent commodity to somebody needing quarterback depth on a roster here. And also, any team that could probably stick it to Cleveland after that whole contract debacle would probably do that in a cocaine heartbeat.
Yeah. Yeah, tough road ahead for the Browns. Okay, let's move on to the Puma bets. The segment that is sweeping the nation. The segment where you should take your 401k out and put it on the Puma
Hang
bet.
on. No. The last 2 weeks is a prime example of why we bet responsibly with the Puma bets. Now listen, Puma. I'm not getting sponsored by DraftKings. I'm not getting sponsored by FanDuel. I'm not getting sponsored by MGM, whatever. This is just me looking out for you guys. Don't go nuts. These last 2 weeks have been brutal. I've been in the front seat of that. I'm losing my ass the last 2 weeks. But if you bet responsibly, we'll be okay. We're going to hit the comeback, and the comeback starts this week. Jay, you got something to say? Can I go through the goddamn bets?
Take out the second mortgage.
Take out the second mortgage. Imposing Chris is calling his financial advisor here. Just, hey, Chris, when you talk to Merrill Lynch or Charles Schwab, just throw in the disclaimer, hey, Puma said for me to bet responsibly, but I'm still gonna do this. But anyway,
Jay says bet irresponsibly.
Bet irresponsibly. Yeah, okay. So Puma bets. We already hit 2 of these from the top. I'm laying the 9.5 with Miami at home against New England here. Go back 25 minutes, listen to the breakdown there. Seattle -3 against Cleveland. We just hit that. The other one, these 2 are tied in the same game. I'm laying the 6.5 with the Philadelphia Eagles against the Washington Commanders. They're on the road in Washington, but the Eagles had like a bit of a wake-up call last week. I understand the box score shows one thing, but the Dolphins were not boat raced out of that building. They were able to get after Jalen Hurts' ass, make life uncomfortable for him. And Jalen Hurts is dinged up. He entered that game again with the knee brace here. I think they're going to do enough to obviously cover the 6.5. I think they're going to win by, double digits in my opinion, because this defense is going to be able to probably get 6.5 sacks on Sam Howell this week, because not only is this offensive line bad for Washington, but Sam Howell is not helping his cause because he's holding on to the football for so goddamn long that he's just getting absolutely annihilated. And I'm not taking a whole lot of stock in like the first week. Division games are weird, but they were helped. Washington was helped with a lot of boneheaded penalties by the Eagles there. So I'm going to go Eagles -6.5. And then the other part of that game, I'm going to take the under 43.5 in that game, which is, I'm going to go half a unit on that one. We're not going to go nuts. We're going to put a little half on there because it's under a key number of 47. We kind of want to, there's different maths to get to it, but I feel like this is going to be one of those games where, Nick Sirianni is a lot of things. I don't think he's a stupid man. So I think they're going to do enough to get the lead and park the bus and get out of Washington or Landover, Maryland, wherever the hell they play, and just leave, get out of there, and keep everybody intact. Like Lane Johnson's dinged up. Fletcher Cox had a scare last week. Jalen Hurts had a little bit of a scare this season with the injuries. Just handle your business, get out of Dodge. Now, we're going to go to college here. First stop, we're going to go to Louisville. Big ACC matchup between Louisville and Duke. Louisville's at home, laying 4. I'm going to go with Louisville here. They're coming off the bye week. They just got embarrassed a week prior by Pitt. They lost outright after that huge win at home against Notre Dame. A lot of this is hinging on whether or not Riley Leonard's going to play. I thought Riley Leonard came back too soon for that Florida State game. Yep. Even when he was in, Jay, like he wasn't effective. He wasn't moving around a whole lot. He couldn't drive. He couldn't step into the throws. And then he rolled up that ankle again. I personally don't think he's going to play. I think Louisville's going to come out there howling mad. They're going to handle their business at home. I'm going to lay the 4 there. The other one, probably logic would say, don't back this team. But I'm going to take Utah and all of those 7 points at home against Oregon because I'm a big believer in Road Bo Nick still being a thing. Road Bo Nix was a thing when he was at Auburn. And we kind of saw Road Bo Nix be a thing against the Washington Huskies 2 weeks ago, where, yeah, he looked great stat-wise, but to the eye test on a crucial fourth down plays, he was kind of he was bouncing the ball to players here. Bryson Barnes is going to be quarterback one for Utah moving forward. We saw what he could do with his legs against USC. He's got a little bit of he's got an arm. He's able to, he put I think 3 touchdowns through the air, 1 on the ground here. Normally I would say this is a stay away from Utah because this is a massive letdown spot after a huge win. But playing at Rice-Eccles Stadium in Salt Lake City is not going to be a cakewalk for Utah, for Oregon. Do I think Oregon wins? Sure. Am I going to lay a touchdown with Bo Nix on the road? Absolutely not. I think Utah's also going to be able to stop the run and make Bo Nix throw the football here. And then the last one, we're going to go on the road. We're going to go to Kansas. Rock Chalk Jayhawk. But the problem is I'm not on Kansas. I'm laying all 10 points with Oklahoma here. Yes, Oklahoma had the scare of their life against UCF last week. But this Kansas secondary is okay at best. And now you have Dylan Gabriel coming out there. He's going to be able to take advantage of the secondary here. Brett Venables is going to want to keep the foot on the gas. I think this is going to be a prime bounce back spot. Even though it's on the road for the Sooners, I'm going to lay all 10 points because I also think style points are going to help with this college playoff here. And right now, if I recall correctly before we recorded, I think Oklahoma was still on the outside looking in at number 5. We got a statement win against Kansas. We're going to lay all the 10 of these points. And by the way, Jalen Daniels, are you playing? Aren't you playing? You've had back issues all season long. You've been late scratches prior to kickoffs this season. Nothing against Sam Dean, but if Jalen Daniels was in this offense, I would have pause on laying the 10 points. I'm going to lay the 10 points with Dylan Gabriel here, which, by the way, he puts up enough stats this week, might put him back in the race for the Heisman.
Oh, okay. I like it. I like it quite a bit. What stood out to you this past weekend from college football? Did you, well, actually, let's talk about this. Let's talk about the Michigan scandal, right? A lot coming out about how the Michigan Wolverines are doing Deflategate 2.0, right? I've heard this quite a bit about how, Jim Harbaugh has a prerequisite to be the next head coach of the Patriots just because he likes to cheat. But, if you guys haven't heard, Michigan got caught, quote unquote, taping signals, right? Essentially, they sent a staffer on the road, sit across the bench, take a video camera out, and start filming the signs. It's illegal in college football. Your take on it?
So I find it kind of funny that it's illegal in college football because if I recall correctly, in some of the game previews for Washington, Oregon, one of the key components for the Washington head coach, whose name is escaping me, was that he could figure out the other people's signs to kind of have an idea of what play's coming in. So is it just like the fact of hey, someone's actually paying there to be there with the old school video recorder? It's just comical to me. This really should be a nothing burger, because if the NCAA wants to actually be, considered the farm system for the NFL, why don't you just put a green dot on the friggin' helmet of the middle linebacker or the quarterback and just, call the plays in like regular people and not have these placards of Taylor Swift, Guess Jeans, the Powderpuff Girls, and then maybe Rocky and Bullwinkle all on one card. And I have to do math to figure out what T Swift, Y banana split with, Rocky Bullwinkle means.
Oh, Puma, you still there? There you are. There, you're back. Yeah, I mean, I get it, man. Ultimately, listen, if I'm being real, if I'm being fair, it's a nothing burger, right? Teams that were great in the past are going to be great now. I mean, it doesn't matter if you have them not steal signs, if you have them steal signs. Michigan's still going to be Michigan. They were great back in the day. They're great now, right? So ultimately, why this rule came into effect was back in the early 90s, the more wealthier teams in college football had the resources and money to buy video cameras and send people on the road to scout. The smaller teams, Indiana, Rutgers, Illinois, didn't have that kind of money to buy the expensive equipment back then and send people on the road to self-scout, right? So That's why the rules in play. But nowadays, bro, like everybody has a cell phone camera, everybody can try to do it. I'm not too worried about it, truthfully. I do find it funny that Michigan State's the one that like called them in on it, right? Michigan State's the one that was like, "Hey, you're the one that are cheating. We're playing you this week. We might not even play you because you're cheating so much." Like, bro, you really had like Michigan State had no chance of beating Michigan with sign stealing or not sign stealing. So it's a big nothing burger in my opinion.
It's
It's
because it's Harbaugh.
it's because it's hard.
That's it.
Same exact thing. Yeah, same exact thing. I mean, just like, and I know we're not gonna get down this road, just like Deflategate, just like it was a try and nail Tom Brady to the cross, just like Tom Brady's numbers after Deflategate were better than before Deflategate. Same exact situation here with Jim Harbaugh. It is what it is, you know?
Mm.
All right. Puma, I think we rambled on enough for today, man.
Yep, I
It's
think
time
we're
for
good.
Father Day. Let's plug this thing up.
Plug it up. This episode
Plug
of the
it up.
pod and previous episodes of the Pro Football Radio Podcast can be found on Spotify, YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts. Be sure to like and subscribe on YouTube. Hit the little bell button, get notification in your feed when we're about to go live. Social media wise, I'm on Brando_Puma on Twitter or X or whatever it's called. Jay Chima, the captain of the ship, is at Jay Chima. The DMs are open. Happy to discuss betting, any other thoughts on football, college football, whatever. Hit us up anytime you like.
See you guys next week. Peace.
Via con Dios.